Welcome to the channel. It's been a long time, but we are here today to do a wrap-up of the Loki series. If you have been following on Twitter, Lyra and I have been doing a episode-by-episode blog about what we thought about each one, specific to things like what was in the episode, Marvel lore, and also Norse lore and how that played into the episode. If you are joining us today, welcome. We're going to be just doing episode 6 today and our wrap-up of the series. Lyra, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for having me on your channel. I'm Lyra Wolf, and I'm an author of Norse fantasy, and I right now have a series called Truth and Other Lies, which is from the point of view of Loki. So I feel I've gotten to know him a little bit better doing this. If you like your characters morally gray and on the snarky side, that might be something for you.
And for anyone who isn't familiar with me, I am also a Norse myth writer. I have a book, The Goddess of Nothing at All, and it is from Sigyn's point of view. That is the non-present wife character of Loki that's essentially not in the myths and definitely not in the Marvel universe, not since like the 70s. So if you are looking for any information about that, you can find all of our links and everything in the description down below. And we're going to get into the episode.
So the first thing that I loved the most though about this episode was that we finally got to see the villain, which I kind of suspected. I think I even talked about with our blog about episode 5, we were going to see him, and I thought that was a great introduction where he's just smiling, happy, eating an apple, and I loved him immediately. But I don't know what you thought.
He was kind of unhinged in this perfect way, that really speaks to I have been alive for longer than any normal human should ever conceive of being alive. I've seen so much stuff, and it has touched me so deeply that there's no sanity left, and that makes so much sense.
Yeah And then especially his also other reveal that he used to be a scientist, and I had to laugh there a little bit, he's literally a mad scientist.
I got so confused on my first watch through because it said the 31st century, I think, but I heard it as the 13th century, and I was like,
oh no.
Oh,
he must have really gotten into some alchemy there.
Yeah, I was like, wow, whatever, Marvel Universe, anything can happen.
Yeah.
But that seems really early.
Yeah. A little bit. He could maybe do it. But yeah, I really liked how he was just kind of chill and relaxed, and that kind of made it a little bit more unnerving. And I also found myself really questioning, do I trust him or do I not trust him? And I really appreciated that as a villain. It wasn't especially for this now being the main villain of the MCU for Phase 4. I like that it's a very different direction than Thanos, which is your very typical, angry villain. He had some reasonable points, but it's still this big hulking guy. And this was very different. And so I'm kind of really curious to see how they, evolve him through the series now with the different movies.
I felt like his character, even though we don't get to really see any of his backstory, it's just all, we have to trust his point of view about what happened. It seems more like he's a Loki type character versus most of the other types of villains that we've had that are smash Hulk kind of I have to destroy things, and that my whole point is to destroy the universe, and I'm very 2D, whereas Loki has from the start been a 3D villain, and this guy feels like a 3D villain with motivations and feelings and reasons, and that is always what I'm looking for in a villain.
Yeah, me too. And also to your point, you're saying all the other villains want to destroy the universe, and he actually is trying to save it. So that's also really unique.
I feel it's a really amazing motivation in the first place, but then it's it gets into all these moral complexities of what is the cost of order and what is the cost of disorder. And very trolley problem-esque. Like, somebody's gonna die.
Yeah.
Who are you
Yeah.
gonna kill?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Marvel really does a fantastic job of asking like those hard questions. And like this was just a fantastic rock in a hard place that they put these characters in. Like you said, really classic trolley problem, like, or lesser of two evils. So which would you choose? So, and again, like I can't even answer that. It's a really hard question. Like maybe Loki's gonna be able to find that third option out of the two that he was given. And I feel like if there is a character that would find that third option, it would be him.
Yeah. I think it also puts us in an interesting position of like, with the final true scene of the series being like, okay, we're back in the TVA, but it's not our TVA, it's a different one. And
Yeah.
what, like, they haven't been through any of the things that we just witnessed. And so Mobius and his whole team of people are not like exposed to the truth. So
yeah,
where does Loki find himself in season 2 with this new the TVA's purpose here is more or less still the same purpose from episode 1. And how does that affect the series? Can Loki sway anyone?
Yeah, because like it was interesting because they seemed to know because like they had Kang's statue there. They talked about him and what he wanted. So yeah, it will be really interesting. It also reminded me. I don't know if you've ever seen like Twilight Zone, but it reminded me of like a classic Twilight Zone ending where you just get this big twist, this big shock when like you saw like that statue and how he actually got knocked into this other universe.
Yeah, I think it's been
it made me sick to my stomach.
I think it's been clear through the whole thing that the like producers and directors and everyone drew a lot on that like Twilight Zone era of fantasy to like pull in different twists and visuals.
Yeah, they did a good job there. Like I expected Rod Serling to just kind of walk out on screen.
Probably my favorite part of the episode has to be the knife fight / knife play, enemies to lovers, beautiful trope that we witnessed.
Yeah. The flirting.
Oh my god, knife flirting is my favorite. I didn't know it.
I know.
No, I wasn't aware. It's the best.
I know.
I mean, aside from the fact that the choreography was stunning, it was also the hottest Tom has been the whole series. I'm sorry, it has to be said.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with you there. Especially after he does that nice little like white glove test too.
Oh my god.
Before we get like just set it up. That started.
Like, yeah. Oh no, put your hands down.
Like not hand porn at all.
No.
He has no idea what he's doing whatsoever.
No, this means nothing to no.
Yeah, that was like started to simmer for that knife fight, which was that pulling into Love is a Dagger. Although they were using knives. I mean, they weren't really using knives, they were using swords, I guess. Technically. I don't know. They're blades. They're hot. I don't care.
Yeah,
they're slashy things. Yeah. But I think that was the best fight choreography through the series. It had the energy that I felt was kind of missing with some of the other ones. And yeah, I just thought that they did a really good job coming and also like having a lot of that emotional connection also with the fighting.
I know people say, like, especially for authors, that having a conversation during a fight scene is not really super believable. It's not like what people want to read, but I dig that so hard. And we got some pure raw emotion from both actors in this scene. And some of the just like, I mean, for me, I keep trying to go back and pay attention to Sylvie in the scene, but I constantly get drawn to Tom's side of the interaction. And the acting is so good. And the moment that keeps killing me over and over again is where she's like, sure, just kill me and take the throne. And he's like, no. And just my feelings.
And you can believe him though, because it's not about his throne, because it never was. Even in the first Thor movie, he's like, I don't want the throne. And yeah, that was just phenomenal acting from him. It tugged at my heart so much. And yeah, I really appreciated that. That was solid.
Yeah. And then the tear as we're getting towards the end of the fight scene, and he's just like, I just want you to be okay. I don't want the throne. And this giant tear falls off his face in the back. And I can only imagine the producing team is watching this through the camera, and they're like, we got it. That big fatty tear. This is it.
Yeah. Yeah. And and that was such an important moment too for him as a character, because he's finally showing this selfless love. Really, again, don't know, romantic, platonic, whatever. It's pure, whatever it is, right? Because he's caring about someone more than himself, her needs over his. And that also was very powerful. And plus then that tear was just icing on the cake.
Yeah. I think that there was so much emotion on his side from that scene, but rewatching it and attempting to pay attention to Sylvie, it's also my monitor is this big, so if I'm watching Loki, I can't even see Sylvie, and so I'm trying to pay attention to her, and she is, I don't know, it's her face says to me expectant, and she's waiting for whatever is going to come out of his mouth, but it feels to me very opportunistic. The kiss, and I understand that if you've read the blogs so far, guys, that we've been preaching platonic friendship love the whole time, and listen, it's still all correct that those friendship love is the best love in the whole universe. But maybe they're gonna get together. Maybe Sylvie used an opening and a weakness, and this is such a Thor Avengers Loki type thing to do, which tells me if she's using his feelings to her advantage, she is narratively at the level that our Loki was at when the multiverse started.
Yeah, and very good point. I mean, and again, it's kind of when, like you're saying with Thor and Loki, and think, even Avengers, Thor thinks Loki's going to turn over. And what does he do? He stabs him. And in a way, she was using love as the dagger to stab him in that moment.
Yep.
So it does perfectly mirror that.
And I think even he recognizes it, because Loki is saying, I have been where you are, I've felt what you felt. And it's not the same story, but it's that betrayal and those moments of you are at the cusp of getting everything you ever wanted, of finally getting your revenge, and you have to choose to take the revenge or sacrifice all these lives, or go against everything you have been working for in order to do what is perceived as the right thing. And watching her kind of play out his character arc in a different way is just so good.
Yeah, I really like that. I thought that was well done.
She did. She kissed him, and I don't know. Something about it, I don't buy it. I just don't. And maybe I'm wrong.
Well, because when I watched it 3 times.
Of course.
And so each time I kept trying to see is this romantic platonic real? And I think from him it was real, but from what she was doing, I don't think so. Because I don't think she's there yet. Loki wasn't there, in Avengers when he was wanting his revenge. So I think from her point of things, her point of view, no, that really was just simply betrayal.
Yeah. And I think it's it links into that line of you can't trust. And I think it's not just you can't trust, but she is so focused on herself and her goals, she has no way to see outside of her own character to connect with anybody else truly. I think we've seen glimpses of it, but she has always been on this very self-destructive road that she was never going to get off until she ended her, like, she didn't have the chance to, like, step off her current timeline the way Loki did.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't get this opportunity to, like, look at her future and make amends with the things that she has not yet done.
I don't know about her.
I like her,
I'm
but
still mad.
I don't think I don't know. I don't know that she's gonna, like, pull ahead in the rankings for me, but I do really like where she might go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think she was starting out as like the hero, right? And so you could really, like you're saying, you really felt she was a hero in her own mind. Like I kind of thought she's the hero of this story until this episode. And when Kang even called out, she is the villain. And then this betrayal of Loki really did show, yeah, she is now the villain of this story. Whereas Loki's now taking over as becoming the hero.
Yeah. And that's also, like, it's in line with what I think a lot of the viewership wants, that, like, Loki gets the chance to kind of redeem himself. And I think it's as well, it's in line with what Marvel has done in a lot of the comics, where Loki begins to, like from Kid Loki, Agent of Asgard, those kinds of storylines, where he gets to kind of team up with the Avengers and do the right thing. And there's an opportunity that seems more and more to be a realistic thing that Marvel's going to do in the MCM, is that he's going to have the chance to team up with Doctor Strange and Wanda and do their witchy thing, because they've already made this canon in the comics that something like that happens. So I think that that's where we're headed.
Yeah, I agree. And I cannot wait to see Loki face off. I mean, like, basically be buddies with Doctor Strange, and there'll be these two sorcerers, you know, trying to outsorcerer the other.
Yep, I'm
fantastic.
so ready for that. I think as well, something that, like, just going back to what He Who Remains said about the about Sylvie and Sylvie's dynamic of, like, hey, hypocrite, murderer, we are all villains here. The episode spent the whole time trying to remind us that we have spent 6 episodes with these characters who are all supposed to be bad guys, and our brains have likely in that time flipped to, like, okay, but they're the heroes of the story. They are the heroes of their story. They just fucked up the whole multiverse. And like, they have constantly made choices that villains would make. And, like, even if we hypothesize that Sylvie has feels, then it is also not out, like, they're villains. What are they gonna do? Have a healthy relationship? No. That's not, like, we're stupid to think that, like, someone who has a week ago started this journey, like, people don't just, like, it doesn't take a week to change your life. It takes months and years of work. And so if we think that Loki and Sylvie are going to, like, have a healthy relationship with anyone a week after D-Day, it's not realistic. Their villains are going to do shitty things.
Yeah, exactly. And again, how the episode opened with him, he got to, you know, see his whole life in front of him. He could see, oh, there's a problem here. I should work on myself. You know, that's how it starts too, you know, accepting and wanting to change. And that she's never had that. Like you're saying, like, she's just still on her track. And yeah, she's not had that opportunity yet. Maybe now it will start with season 2, but we'll see.
God, I haven't looked up if there's a date yet for season 2. I just saw the after credits, and I don't even want to know how long it's going to be, because I can't deal with it. I can't deal with knowing.
Yeah, I know. I feel like they've filmed though a lot, they've said already.
Based on some of the stuff I saw on Twitter.
Yeah. And I really wanted, I was looking forward to those, like, Thor 1 scenes. Like, whatever those were. That was the highlight for me. And it was I was robbed. We all were.
Yeah.
So hopefully that happens in season 2.
Honestly, I was looking at I can't remember the channel name, but it was like villain therapy, and I got halfway through the video before we started calling for this, and it's an episode about Loki, and, like, with a therapist and a filmmaker, and they're talking about like if you follow the movies, what their timeline would say and if they need therapy and how they could have like changed their
Mm-hmm.
lives and stuff. And they were looking back at like the Thor and like Avengers footage, and honestly, it feels to me like I don't miss that Loki. Like I appreciate
Yeah.
that Loki. I don't. It feels like a
Mm-hmm.
teenager, and then like over the movies, we're seeing Loki become like an adult man with like
Yeah.
an adult understanding of the world instead of like a teenager who
Mm-hmm.
got betrayed.
Yeah.
And so I have a deep appreciation, but I don't specifically miss him. So I'm almost like carrying
Mm-hmm.
around this secondhand embarrassment for what I think is coming for these like Thor 1 scenes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be great. But and also it kind of speaks to the evolution of this character.
Yeah.
And again, we can't just always have him being the same. Like if it was always Thor 1 Loki, that would be boring and not all Loki. Or any character. Like we're not exactly who we were at 17 either, right? We grow and we evolve and change, and that's what's happening here. So it's very much, I think, in line, because I know, like, I think we were talking, like, we've heard some quibbles about some character changes, and I understand that, but also that's not really how character development works.
Yeah. I mean that's kind of the problem with Twitter is that you run across one or two people that have a particular opinion, and then you're like, oh my god, there must be so many people who think
Mm-hmm.
this, and that's not true. Like, who knows how many people actually
Mm-hmm.
think it? But I definitely have come across phrases like Loki was out of character for the whole series. Like, no shit. That was the point. That was the whole point. That Loki was torn out of his timeline, shown his future, and given the opportunity to change his future, to
Yeah.
change who he was and what he was going to do. Do you want your mom to die because you are greedy? Do you want to kill your whole planet because you couldn't just divert from your path? Like, these are like
Yeah.
specific questions. And people are like, "Oh
Mm-hmm.
no, 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 no! This he was out of character. He should have been the same character in the other movie." Jesus Christ!
But it wouldn't work. Like, he couldn't grow if he was that way.
No.
Like, Avengers 1 Loki, I mean, even though that's like the one we got after he lost, but still, like, imagine that throughout. Like, it would be stagnant. He'd just be angry and brooding the whole time, which, I mean, I love that. But also, like, there's a purpose because that served that storyline because that was his mission. Well, now the mission has changed.
Yeah.
And it's even if you think of yourself as a person, like if you're like having like say a project you're working on, you're maybe going to be more driven, or your opinion at work is going to be different than when you're at home and just kind of relaxing on the couch or whatever. So same here. So maybe even the movies, that's more of him being out of character
Yeah.
than the show, where again different trajectory.
And I think as well, I mean, we're talking about Avengers came out in 2012, whereas
Mm-hmm.
2021 now. The people who were watching Avengers 1 in 2012 have grown up. They're different people.
Mm-hmm.
They want different things from their characters.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see the
Mm-hmm.
kinds of evolution that they presumably have had over 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And that was one thing I do wish that they kind of would have brought though in more, is like explaining some of the exploring, like for example, like he did try to like commit suicide basically when at the end of Thor 1, right, like some of that decision. And then also like in Avengers, they did say controlled by the Mind Stone, and they kind of did like forget that in this series. It's like, oh no, that was not all part of the problem. But I would have appreciated if they touched on some of that a little bit.
Yeah.
Or him being like, hey, I was tortured and controlled. Like, this is new to me too. But yeah.
There were a couple of things that I saw, like different headlines that I didn't have time to like read deeply into, that were just like there needed to be more Loki in Loki. And I feel like
Yeah.
the series could have done with like 2 more episodes that gave us more time
Yeah.
with Loki and his character development. And then, of course, with the rest of the characters as a product of that.
Yeah.
But like the last episode, while I do feel like it is a great, perfect setup, it almost feels
Mm-hmm.
like it's like 50% a cheat, because while I do appreciate getting the setup and the narrative of like, and the idea that these favorite characters now have like caused all the shit that is gonna come, like that's like icing on the cake. But like a very long monologue from a character that I'm not yet invested in kind of took away from some of my like what I expected to get out of the Loki variants in this episode.
Yeah, I agree. Because like I was even, thinking like this would probably be like the one episode I would probably not rewatch as many times as like the other ones, just because it's like, okay, now it's monologue time.
Yeah.
And I would have, like you said, I would have preferred having a little bit more time with Loki and Loki alone. I think 2 episodes more would have been perfect with that, or even just him and Mobius, and then introduce Sylvie. So I also felt a little bit cheated with the last episode. It was a great setup, but I felt again I didn't get as much as I could have from with just Loki.
Yeah.
Like even the trailer is kind of funny because it was him alone walking down that hall, or it's him alone, doing this and that. And now you see it's like it basically erased Sylvie out of all of that.
Yeah. And like the setups are great. I just really would have valued a lot of like more opportunities. Like the train scene still is my favorite of the whole series because it really we get to sit down and break down. I mean, both Loki and Sylvie. That's fine. I don't need one without the other. But having more opportunities, like it would have been nice to see Loki or Sylvie or both getting to perform things like that they had said that they were. Like there was no shape shifting, there was no fluidity, there was no we talked about being bisexual but we didn't see anything about it. And like I'm not ragging on Rep, whatever, like we're only gonna get so much out of Marvel and we have to accept that. But what I would have liked to have seen is quiet scenes like that where we get to see someone flirt. We get to see more of them as people instead of as like plot devices.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. That's exactly what I wanted. And that's, again, it's where it really shined, was those quiet moments. And so that's exactly what I would have wanted to see more of and what I'm kind of craving.
Yeah.
And what they denied.
I think it must be hard for them as like an industry that's extremely action packed, especially when we're talking about like superheroes as a genre.
Yeah.
It must be so difficult to advocate for the kinds of scenes that we have most enjoyed, because there's such a set of people that like, and I don't think it's necessarily the Loki scene that wants like the big action stuff. I think that's why they got away with it. But so much of superheroes is just punching, kicking, blasting. And I don't know. I don't know if there's room for that kind of thing in like one of the movies or like, and I think that's why they got to do the series.
Yeah, which I think is perfect for Loki because like Loki is a more quiet character. And I think that's why so many people form a connection with him. Like he isn't the one that's like, blasting people all the time. I mean, sometimes, but like you do like get more of that depth from him. And so I think those quiet moments serve that character better. So I think that this series was a better platform to explore him more.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think we have covered most everything that we would have wanted to talk about. What would you like to see from a season 2, since apparently we're getting one?
Yeah. Well, like we were saying, definitely more quiet moments. I would especially, again, whatever Marvel gives us, to see more of that rap that they keep talking about. Just a little bit. And I kind of still want to see, now that we see Loki in this alternate universe with new Mobius, I really want to see this kind of love story where it's just like him searching through time and space to find the original Mobius.
Yes, I am down with that.
Something like that.
I think for me, again, more quiet moments, more get to know Loki stuff.
Mhm.
I think it's hard to like make us really specific guesses because we, as of this call at least, don't know where
Yeah.
season 2 falls on the timeline. So I'd like to see
Yeah.
him like, probably I'd like to see more of the variants again. Like it could be like Kid Loki,
Yeah.
Agent of Asgard, whatever.
Yeah.
Variants coming back, seeing more different types of Lokis, and seeing where Loki lands emotionally. Like, are we gonna see
Mhm.
the more like someone who could theoretically team up with the Avengers, like has that capacity to like care about others and like do the right thing,
Mhm.
or are we gonna see him like backslide because now he's been betrayed by the last person he thought he could
I
trust,
know.
and then the
Yeah.
his only friend in the world doesn't remember him. So like
I know.
backslide or what?
Yeah, and maybe that will kind of show how much he has grown because see if he can get past that.
Yep.
Because that's true. Like that's exactly what would make him backslide. So we can see like will he or won't he?
Yeah.
And that will be something.
It really, they
And
ended the
yeah.
show like feeding all of his pre-existing traumas, and oh, I couldn't imagine
Just
like
everyone lives.
story.
I was just thinking as a whole, like the fandom, just everyone loved to like torment this man.
Yeah.
Like just crush him.
Yeah.
Me included. But
I just realized
another.
there's going to be so much like fan fiction after this. New fan fiction.
So much. So much. I did see, though, I guess, that the first Loki self-cessed fic came out in 2011.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is this is the thing. Is like people are acting like this like Sylvie X Loki thing is like a fucking new idea. It's not. It's not. Have you been on AO3? No,
yeah.
apparently not, because this has been around. Like, if you can multiply yourself, you're not gonna not use that at bedtime.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just reality. And
yeah.
if you say you're not, you're lying.
Exactly. I have to give a shout out to my one friend because like she was like joking before the series even started. We were talking about was there going to be a love story, romance or not, and she's like, the only romance that would ever be feasible is if he like fell in love with himself because that's like the only person that he'd ever go for. And I laughed at her. And last night I'm like, you're a wizard. How did you get?
Were you on the writing team?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So again, you kind of also view as comedic. It's hilarious. It fits.
I mean, if nothing else, the thing is it's fiction. Regardless of where you fall on the scale, the story has not played all the way out. It's fiction. People taking it super seriously need to redirect their energy to places where there are so many real world problems. And yes, representation is a real world problem, but like this is just not the best place to put that energy. There are representation issues you can handle outside of TV.
Yeah. Exactly. I would say my last really selfish one is for the season 2 ending is to be all of the King variants. We're having a battle with all the Loki variants. Like an end-game style battle.
That would be fun. Like I keep thinking like how are they gonna top the last like Avengers movie?
Mm-hmm.
Everything they do now has to like escalate somehow, and I don't know how you do. I don't know how you top that final scene. I don't.
Yeah. I mean, I loved the Endgame finale. Like, it was great, but like, it was kind of also like funny how like they kept trying to top and top. It's like, oh well, now it's like I'm going to destroy half the universe, and I'm going to destroy all the universe. Oh, now I'm just going to like destroy. Like, you're not even going to be in memory. It's just like it got more tedious. It was great, but yeah. But how can you top that? It was just.
We're gonna find out, I guess.
Yeah. Well, again, maybe that was about taking people's lives. Now it's going to be about taking people's freedom. Free will.
So that is it for the video. That's all of our thoughts. Wow. Okay, that's some of our thoughts on the Loki series. We could probably talk about this for hours and have in fact done so on our Discord.
Yes.
But we're going to wrap it up because it has already been long enough. Thank you for watching. If you want to check out those blogs again, all the links are down below. All of our social media information is also below. For me, you can check out The Goddess of Nothing at All. That's available on Amazon and most local retailers. You can ask your library for a copy as well. All of the links are at my Twitter. That's cat_rector. And you can find me on Instagram and apparently now TikTok. That's a thing that I'm doing. And come say hi, and we can talk about more Norse myth stuff.
Thanks for joining us. Again, I'm Lyra Wolf, and my book is Truth and Other Lies, the 9 Worlds Rising series. And you can find this on Amazon. It is exclusive in KU, so if you're a member of that, or you can request it from your library. You can find me on links below. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and also TikTok. Just have to jump on that train. And yeah, so just love to hear from you.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you later. Bye.
Bye.